Maneco64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Weekend Q&A, or talk about anything you guys would like, within reason, of course. NASDAQ SC is here. Hi, NASDAQ, nice to see you. Today, the channel reached 20,000. I'd like to thank everyone who's subscribed and been with me for as long as you've been, be it a day or 2 years or a year. I appreciate the support. Billy's here for the Q&A. Hi, Ann. How are you? Ann Holloman. Philip. Oh, thanks, Philip. That's nice of you. I'd like to thank Bitcoin Ben as well. Earlier today, I participated in his live stream, and he recommended my channel to his viewers. And since he recommended my channel, I've gotten like over 100 new subscribers, and that's why I'm above 20,000, thanks to Bitcoin Ben. So that was really nice. How gold will save us? Well, I think gold is the only constant. The older I get, the more I read, the more I learn about things, the more I realize very little I know. And that might sound weird, but it's true. I think there's so much information out there, so much misinformation. But if you go back in time, one of the only things economically or monetarily that really hold their purchasing power are gold and silver. Also land, I would say, agricultural land, property. I'm not saying you should go and speculate and buy properties or real estate with high leverage. But if you look at the old aristocratic, very wealthy families, what do they have? They have a lot of land, a lot of property, and I bet you they have some gold. So that's why I think it's important to have gold, but not only gold, but silver. I've got, these are little 90% junk quarters. So that's why I think that's how it will save us, Tesla 3. That's your answer to your question. Hi, Rick. Good evening. Phil927, I'm here via Bitcoin Ben. Yeah, that was great. I like listening to Bitcoin Ben. He comes on quite a bit as well when I'm on live stream. He also said today that he likes watching my videos, so it's great. That's how the social media, the internet works, the decentralized world. I'm not trying to compete with Bitcoin Ben. I'm not trying to compete with anyone. We're just like collaborating. Like, yeah, there's room for everyone. Of course, there's some competition in the bigger term, but not really directly. Hi, Pablo. Nice to see you here. Hi, Philip. Philip has been buying copper. Yeah, copper, I mean, it's used to be a monetary metal like gold and silver as well, the pennies, copper. But I personally am not involved in copper. Copper and silver are quite related. A lot of the copper mines, a lot of them have silver deposits as well. I was talking in the live stream with Bitcoin Ben that there's very few mines that are dedicated to just silver. A lot of the times it's combined with copper. Tesla 3 is Zero Hedge pro Wall Street. I think Zero Hedge, a lot of the people that contribute to Zero Hedge were on Wall Street. Maybe like me, I worked in the city of London, but not necessarily sure they're pro Wall Street. They observe it, but they also try to take advantage of it. But I think they're definitely anti-central banking, anti-socialism. That's the other thing. I just went for a walk earlier, just about half an hour ago. I walked around the park. It's a really nice evening here. It's sunny, but it's cool, and it's going to be a holiday, a long weekend here. Monday is a bank holiday, as they call it, so it's really quiet. A lot of people have gone away. I've had time to think a bit as well when you go walking. And I was thinking, central bank. There's an old saying about how the best way to rob a bank is to own a bank. But I was thinking, why do we have central banks? I think it's the best way to rob the general public is to own a central bank. And that's why I think it's really important to abolish central banks, go back to a decentralized world, competition, different competing currencies as well. And how do they rob society? Well, the central bank gets monopoly power. They control the issuance of money, the issuance of credit. They pump and dump the economies. And that's why we get more and more inequality. And the 1% or even less than 1% own everything. And I think what we're going through right now, unfortunately, is the biggest pump and dump in recorded history. And I might upset a few people, but personally, I think President Trump is part of the program. He's been used by the pump and dumpers. And why do I say that? And I hope I'm wrong, because I'm not perfect. The reason why I say that is I heard a comment he made yesterday about how the economy is doing great. He reminded me of maybe the captain of the Titanic, knowing that when the Titanic was going to sink, he kept telling everyone, no, calm, don't worry, go back to the dance floor, go back and finish your dinner. This is what I feel like President Trump is doing. And to say that the economy is doing great in the US is dishonest. I know the statistics that are controlled by the government are looking good, but it has no basis in reality. We still have over 90 million people out of the workforce. The US is running huge government debt, budget deficits. It's going to be up to $1 trillion this year. Unfunded liabilities are like ballooning. We've got the baby boomers retiring. It's going to get worse. So that's why I don't think everything's honky-dory. I think Mr. Trump is just, unfortunately, trying to keep the people, from panicking. Not saying he's a bad guy or anything. I think a lot of the things he's doing is good. But he did say recently that we could go through some rough economic periods. So maybe that's what he means. He knows what's going to happen. So enough of me talking. I'm going to answer some questions now. All eyes on me, AA. Hi, maneco64. Do you think Bitcoin will ever be agreed as a proper store of value? Well, the market will decide that. All eyes on me, AA. Right now, I think the volatility in Bitcoin makes it more of a speculative instrument rather than a store of value. So that's what I think of it. Not that I don't think it's a bad, not that I think it's a bad, investment or currency. I think there is a room for Bitcoin in the free market. Tesla's 3, in which case the oil will go back to 140. What would probably trigger that would be some kind of escalation of the situation with Iran, I would say. Maybe the Strait of the Hormuz being, blocked or something like that. David Wiseman, should there be a financial crash, will there be a possibility of gold confiscation like 1933? Hi, David. No, I don't think so, because unlike in 1933, a lot of gold right now is not held widely by the public. Back in 1933, the dollar and gold were the same. Right now, we're on a paper system, so I don't think it will be. Girl Olgie, it was not the Titanic that went down, but her sister ship. 99% of you think it's true. It's a big lie. Girl Olgie, I've heard that theory. It was the other ship, uh, that it was an insurance job. I've heard that story, but I want to keep it simple for now. I think what was the other ship? I forgot the name. Yeah, apparently the other ship, the sister ship, had an accident. It ran into a British Royal Navy ship, and it was damaged. And the British Navy didn't want to pay the damages, so they used the other ship, sunk the other ship to get the insurance money. I've heard that. Um, Patrick M, can you talk a little about turtle trading? You mentioned you took a class on it before. Yeah, turtle trading, you can find it online. Um, I don't even think you have to buy it. It's basically it's a very simple system. They look at 22. Basically, they look at the 22-day high on anything, or low, or a 55-day high. And then let's say if gold breaks a 22-day high, you go long. And then it's basically a momentum system, and it's very disciplined. They have like, how can I say, when you take the position, if the market moves against you, there's very tight stops. And it was something used by one of the, I forgot his name, but he's in the New Market Wizards. And he actually hired people who had never been in the markets to test the system, and they did really well. So I recommend you look at it, the turtle trading. Bugsy 2379, thank you for the super chat. Any update on the Sinclair Hunter interview? Oh, thanks, Bugsy. Yeah, the last time I saw, the interview hadn't been published. I don't know if he's done the interview yet. Jim Sinclair, when he wrote that article, said that he was going to be, I think, also with his partner, his business partner, what's his name? I forgot now. They were going to be on Greg Hunter, but I've checked the Greg Hunter YouTube channel, and it hasn't been published yet. Maybe it will be published this weekend. We'll have to wait and see, but I will definitely come back to update you guys on it. Demonetized Patriot. Hey, Demonetized Patriot, nice to see you here. I like to tell my viewers as well that Demonetized Patriot has a really good YouTube channel. He just started out, so I recommend you guys go there too. I agree. He says, I agree with Maneco about Trump. Trump was in debt to the banks for billions of dollars when his real estate empire collapsed. The banks bailed Trump out. Yeah, and the other thing as well, I think Trump, if what I think will happen happens, Trump will be, how can I say, his family at least, future generations, they'll be guaranteed that they'll survive. That's probably the price he's, that's what they're paying him with, because they're going to have to dump the system, and if he wasn't there for them, his empire, real estate empire, would collapse. So that's probably how he's getting payback for orchestrating this. And I would say that all the stuff about impeachment, his lawyer, Russiagate, all the stuff, the affairs, and I think that's all distraction. It's all distraction. So we need to keep an eye on the money, on the system. Worry about, living within our means, having insurance, monetary insurance, and gold and silver. Or you might not like gold and silver, but at least don't be in debt. Don't live, don't live above your means. That's all I can say. You don't have to buy gold and silver. You could still have dollars, but I don't think it's going to be worth much. But if you are going to have dollars, keep it, physical, not in the bank. Norbert Chong, is cryptocurrency going to the moon again? I think so. I'm not sure about the moon, but I think it will go back up. It takes time. We've had a big correction from almost 20,000 to just under 6,000. These things take time to come back. I said that in the beginning of the year, like after it came off, that we should expect a longer consolidation. I actually think it's been a bit longer than I thought, but it could go on for a while longer. Nasdaq SC, is Aramco going public soon? I don't know if they are. I don't know. It's been kind of delayed and delayed. So Aramco is the Saudi national oil company. Uh, it used to be owned partly by the Saudi government and some big American oil companies, but now it's just Saudi, because it was the Americans who built Saudi Arabia, really, the American oil companies. Uncle Deadly 75. Some of the wealthiest key figures in the financial industry died when the Titanic sunk. All of them had one thing come: they opposed the Federal Reserve. Yeah, I've heard about that. I think it was Guggenheim and also one of the Astors. They were against the Federal Reserve. Yeah, Bugsy, and the Fed, and hit that like button. Thanks. The other channel I'd recommend is Ron Paul's Liberty Report. Lately, he's had some really good shows. I highly recommend Ron Paul. His message never changes. Freedom, sound money, small government. I really like the Ron Paul Liberty Report. Cryptonate, what does a post-dollar world look like? Well, unfortunately for Americans, it's going to be a lower standard of living, but it won't look very different. Think of the UK or Great Britain now. What it's not, and think of Great Britain before, when they had the empire. That's what it's going to be like, I would say. Hopefully, the US won't become as socialist as Great Britain. I hope not. But I think it might be a good thing, actually, a blessing in disguise, because the US economy, I think, has been too leveraged and hollowed out and financialized. So if the dollar isn't top dog anymore, America will actually have to live within their means and produce things. So I actually think it could be a positive in the longer term. Oh, here we go. Chris Bell, the Bush dynasty was the worst. Yeah, I mean, the Bush family. Yeah, I always remember this interview. I think Bush Senior, George Herbert Walker Bush, did. I think one of the main networks, and they asked him, "What do you watch the news?" And he said, "No, I never watch the news because I know what's coming out in the news." So basically, he said, from that comment, you could see that the CIA and the deep state, they run, the news for us, and that's why it's called fake news now. So yeah, the Bushes have been around for a while. Salty Brewer, Bitcoin Ben sent me. Oh, thanks, Salty Brewer. Yeah, I was saying earlier, today when I was on the Bitcoin Ben live stream, I had about 19,900 subscribers, and he gave, he recommended my channel, and I've actually got like 150 new subscribers, and I'm above 20,000 now. I don't like to put to make too much of these numbers, 20,000 or 10,000 subscribers. I think the important thing is to just keep going, be regular, try to come out with good topics, and then the subscribers will come. I'm not trying to have 50 or 100,000. I'm just trying to do my best, and hopefully we'll get more subscribers. But thanks a lot anyways for coming over. 007 Wets. If South America was booming, would you move back? Well, it's very. I mean, there are some nice places in Brazil, but I don't know. Living in the UK and Europe for over 30 years, and when you go back to Brazil, you can live well in Brazil, but it's very different. Things work very differently. I'm not sure I'll ever go back, but never say never. But Brazil, even in crisis, you can do very well. It's a bit like now, in the U.S. and in Europe, there's a few people who do really well, but the majority of the population is not doing well, and the middle class is shrinking. So yeah, that's Brazil in South America. But I've got the option to be able to go back, which is good. Danny Djokovic, I can't find any 1,000-ounce silver bars for sale. Someone's hoarding. Yeah, I think it's the Comex. They use 1,000-ounce bars. I think maybe there's I don't know what's going on. The only real money in the U.S. is still the U.S. nickel. Has not been changed since 1865. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what the composition of the nickel is. I remember some years ago, the face value was less than the value of the metal. I think now that's come back down because the base metals prices have gone down. But I remember about 10 years ago when base metals were really high, a lot of people were melting nickels because the metal value was higher than the face value. But so 75% copper, 25% nickel, yeah. So yeah, maybe keep an eye on base metal prices. It could be an interesting thing to hoard. Red Snapper. Hi, Mara. Did you get a chance to read Andre Pogar's uh, book, The Age of Anomaly? No, Red Snapper. I remember you recommended it. I haven't had chance to. I have a lot of books at the moment that I'm reading all at the same time. So, but I will have look into it. But I haven't had the chance yet. Pablo Pina, hi Mario. Why did Mr. Trump buy Italian debt bonds? He didn't buy Italian debt. The story is that when he met the Italian prime minister a few weeks ago, he said that they could try to help Italy next year because Italy, the Italian treasury, has a lot of debts coming to maturity. So he said the US could help. I'm not so the US hasn't bought any BTPs or Italian debts. BTP is the equivalent of US Treasury for Italy. But the thing is, America is going to have problems refinancing its own debts. I don't see how they could help Italy. Maybe if President Trump uses the exchange stabilization fund, I'm not sure the Federal Reserve would be really keen on buying Italian debt. I don't think the Fed holds any foreign securities. They do swaps with foreign central banks, like with the ECB, which it doesn't go on their balance sheet. So yeah, so the President Trump hasn't bailed out Italy, hasn't done anything. It was just like a pledge or a promise to the Italian prime minister, and I don't think it could happen. Who knows? But it would be one blind person leading another blind person because the U.S. has even more debt than Italy. Why some people are asking about George Soros. Why is he a symbol of globalism? Well, I think George Soros is a front for people that are much bigger than him. Yeah, and He's just like a front man. He does the dirty work for people that are much bigger than him. And I think one of these people is the Wallenberg family. They're like a big, they own almost the whole of Sweden, the Wallenbergs. They're in banking, everything. And I saw last year one of the Wallenbergs was even at a Bilderberg meeting. And why do I say that? Well, because Soros's quantum fund that he started, his hedge fund he started in the late 60s, was financed by SC Banken, Svenska and Skilda Bank, which is owned by the Wallenbergs. And I also know that when I worked in the futures market, I had colleagues who dealt for the Soros fund. And whenever they traded for that fund, they used to give up the trades to SC Banken. And SC Banken at the time, they were in the futures market, but they weren't like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs. And I always thought that was strange. Why would Soros use SC Banken? So I think, yes, Soros is doing someone else's dirty work. He's got a thick skin, but he is the face of globalization. But I don't think he's just one of the puppets. He's like a mid-level guy. Someone's asking, hi, Mary, could you explain currency swaps? Well, it's just you exchange something for something else off balance sheets. They just call it, it's a derivative. So like the Fed can't go, they don't go and technically buy euros, or, they don't technically sell their dollars for euros. What they do is they call it a swap, so it won't be on their balance sheets, and vice versa. That's all it is. It's another term for buying and selling, but as a derivative, it's a swap of currencies. They always like to use these terms to keep people in the dark, but it's basically doing things that they not supposed to do, and so they can keep it off the balance sheet. Rick H, is that why Sweden is crazy? Maybe, yeah. I mean, what's happened in Sweden? I think it's a population of 10 million. In the last few years, you've had almost 1 million immigrants come in, and now you've got like car burnings and riots, which very, very un-Swedish like, I would say. I've been to Sweden a few times, a couple of times years ago in the late 80s, and I can tell you it was nothing like it is now. Yeah, so maybe it's like an experiment, Sweden. Hi, Red Snapper. Bugsy2379, is there a big difference between 999 Silver Eagles and 999 Maple Leafs? No, nothing really. Only, I guess, if you're in the US, you might want to have the Silver Eagles. But Maple Leafs, silver is silver anywhere. It's the same anywhere, I would say. Hi, Jim California. Sorry, late, but present. No problem. Oh, you're welcome, Red Snapper. Daniel Djokovic, the Republic of Montenegro, Russians still buy up all the oceanfront property. The other family that's involved in Montenegro that I heard are the Rothschilds. They've got big investments there too. And I think John McCain went to Montenegro with I think a Russian oligarch and one of the Rothschilds a few years ago. So yeah, it's an interesting place. I think they're probably trying to make it like the Monte Carlo of the Adriatic, Montenegro. Alex Kilich. Hi, Mary. Is there any other way the central bankers can wriggle out of this mess apart from printing, bailouts, bail-ins, wars, etc.? No. That's the short answer, Alex. There isn't. They can try to use the strategy of management of perception economics, MOPE, which was coined by Jim Sinclair. They can try to keep it going for as long as possible. But as the Austrian School of Economics points out, like Mises and Hayek, all credit booms end in credit busts. So there's no way out, unfortunately. That's why you need to be your own central bank. Try to keep as much gold and silver as you can, if you can, or get out of debt. Don't be exposed to the system. Don't have too much fiat money in these banks. What's crypto.com? You should look into creating a channel on minds.com, a decentralized social network that has its own cryptocurrency. It's actually pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I publish a lot of my stuff, all my stuff on Steemit and DTube as well. I haven't heard of minds.com. Guillaume Charles, hi Mara, just got on. Question, what would be the price of gold and silver if the world went back to a gold standard? How would they be priced? I guess it would be have to rebalance all the debt in relation to gold reserves of every country. Jim Sinclair says that for the U.S., it would, if the U.S. has the gold that they say they have at Fort Knox, it would be $17,000 an ounce. But he doesn't think they have that gold, and I don't either. So it could be even more like 50,000 an ounce. So it's difficult to say because everything is so opaque. There's no transparency. Relaxing Woody 05. What do you think the US dollar or UK pound could go to the way of the Venezuela currency in the future? Yeah, I mean, they could definitely hyperinflation because we're doing the same thing here and in the US that the Venezuelans did. A lot of mismanagement, a lot of money printing, but we still have some kind of credibility, and that's why our currencies are still worth something. But I personally think, you know, it can't last forever. HVEM. Hey Mario, what happens here in Denmark when or if we go into negative interest rates? Yeah, Denmark. I heard that. I'm not sure, but I heard last year or a year and a half ago that some banks or mortgage providers in Denmark were giving negative interest rates on mortgages. It's just I think that's really bad sign. It just shows that capital is being destroyed. It's not good for savings. It's not good for the economy in the long term. And I wouldn't borrow money even if they gave me a negative interest rate mortgage. That would mean they're paying you to take on debt. It's just warped. It just doesn't make sense. JJ Marriott, how many EOS airdrops have you gotten? Yeah, quite a few. I haven't counted, but I've got quite a few. I've got Black, which is doing quite well. I've got Everipedia. I've got the Challenge token. I've got Karma, eDNA, quite a few. But recently, I haven't gotten any. And there's some other ones that I've forgotten the name. Horus as well, which is a payment system for wages, Horus tokens. So there's quite a few. I'm keeping them. Hi, Kevakos. Hi, Mara. We'll be uploading more of your thoughts on the UK London property market. I'm looking to buy a house. Yeah, I mean, I made a video, I think, last week about the UK housing. Bugsy, if you had $10,000 and can only buy one, which would you buy? Gold, Silver or Bitcoin? I would say silver. Yeah, the District of Columbia's treason says silver is the most undervalued commodity. Yeah. Uh, have you heard the one of that DC stands for district, the District of Criminals, District of Columbia's treason? KVJQXZZ. Did you see the very recent Professor Stephen Hankey's interview on the Mises site and his call for a new gold currency board for Turkey, Russia, and Iran would be a full gold standard system? No, I didn't. I haven't, but makes sense for those countries. Yes, Jim. California, USA credibility is declining continually, unfortunately. Red Snapper, hi Mario. Why is no one talking about interfund lending in mutual fund families? I haven't heard about that. I haven't heard about that. Maybe it's because funding from banks is drying up. That could be, might not be a very good sign. El Tomo, did you do the air grabs for EOS, Mario? I've received airdrops. I'm not sure what you mean by air grabs. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Cyrus Shadrazar, will you also delete me here for my comments? I don't know what you mean. Do you mean that I'm deleting you from my comments on the normal videos? Sometimes it's not me that deletes it. It's sometimes YouTube automatically puts it, you know, in the junk. So, but I don't know what comments you made. Sometimes I delete people's comments if I think they're inappropriate, but I try not to. Even critical comments, I try not to delete. I don't mind taking criticism if it's reasonable, and yeah. So I'm not deleting you now. Uh, Relaxing Woody '05, like you, I'm in the UK. Since '08, I've noticed a considerable change for the worse in the economy overall. Do you think this will accelerate quicker on a downward trend over the next decade? Yeah, I agree. You know, the economy in the UK is not doing well. I think the middle class is being hollowed out in the UK as well. We might, they say that unemployment has gone down in the UK, but I don't think people are earning as much as they used to. They're having to do more jobs. Yeah, I think things are going to get worse. It might not take, it would be good if they got worse, you know, there was a big crisis because for it to drag for another decade would not be good. Al and Deluzzi, what is the future of EOS? I think it's a bright future, EOS, but of course, there are new projects all the time in the blockchain world, cryptocurrency world. Uh, it's still a young project. It just went online in June, and the important thing will be, you know, the popularity of it and how many, you know, if they can grow a big community. But I think it will do well. Personally, I'm betting on it, but that's my opinion. we always need to keep an open mind about these things. There could be some new project that could be even better than EOS. What's crypto.com? If you keep money in the bank, you're a creditor. The bank becomes the bank's money, not yours. Yeah, you're an unsecured lender now. When you put money in the bank, I think that's almost everywhere in the world. Sanjit Neogi, hi Mario. What is your opinion about the Indian economy? We have so much gold in the India household. The state-owned banks give 7.5% interest rates. To be honest, Sanjit, I haven't really been following too much the Indian economy. I know Indians have a lot of gold, and that's a good thing. One thing I always hear about India is the bureaucracy, but other than that, I'm not really in the position to say more. Lord Humongous just woke up. How's Colorado, Lord Humongous? El Tomo S. I recommend the channel in Investing with the Difference about EOS. The guy puts a lot of effort in following the EOS community. Yeah, and also EOS Go, I think. They have a YouTube channel. Also the Awakenment on YouTube. He follows EOS quite a bit. He does good videos. Kivakos, Mario, what odds would you give on second Brexit referendum being held? Very low odds. I don't think it will be. I think there would be a complete. People would be very angry, especially the Brexiteers, if you had another referendum. Thanks, Lord Humongous, for the super chat donation. I appreciate it. What else? Sanjit Neogi, the Indian economy is booming. Middle class size is growing rapidly. Will you move to India if UK economy collapse? I've never been to India. Yeah, I I have read that the middle class in India is bigger than anywhere else, even the U.S. India has over 1 billion people. I think there's 200 million people in the middle class. But not sure I'll move to India, but I'd like to go and visit. US vibes with Kyle. Yeah. Kyle, yeah, Kyle for the Awakenment. And also the other guy I like listening to sometimes is what's his name? Kent, EOS San Diego. The District of Columbia. Mario, have you ever listened to Greg Manorino? Yeah, I have listened to him a lot. I like Greg. Recently, I haven't too much. Paul K., when you talk about technicals related to gold and silver, since there's so much fraud, what do you think is coming? Um, you know, yeah, the price of gold and silver are managed by the central banks and the bullion banks. But like Jim Sinclair says, they will drive the market up and down. They have driven it down and they've kept it down for the last few years, but they're going to drive it up as well. He also says that it's useless looking at technicals, and I kind of agree with him. But sometimes it's good just to look at the charts. There's other people like Charles Nenner. He's been saying this for the last 12 months when he's been on Greg Hunter's show, that he expects gold he kept saying in the last 12, 18 months that gold will only bottom in the late summer 2018. So I think hopefully we're close to the bottom. But as I've said before, we shouldn't worry too much about the fiat price. I know it's a bit frustrating, but it's more about having the physical. We need to think about having grams and ounces. Just like Warren Buffett, he doesn't think about I don't think he thinks about the dollar amount that he's worth. He thinks about what percentage of Coca-Cola do I own? How many shares do I own? He doesn't care too much about the price movements in the short term. And that's the way we need to think about precious metals. Shuda, how much fraud, physical gold and silver is out there? How do you protect yourself? The best way to protect yourself is, I know nothing's perfect, but try to go to the most reputable dealer that's been around for the longest. Yeah, don't go to someone who has no credit, someone who hasn't been around for too long. Do your homework. Yeah, that's all I can say. Cyrus, according to Italian newspaper, Trump offered to help finance Italy's 2019 public borrowing when Rome Treasury scheduled to issue. Yeah, that apparently that's what he said to the Italian Prime Minister when the Italian Prime Minister met him at the White House a few weeks ago. Someone's talked about that already. They could help, but America as well has its own debt problem. So it's a bit like the blind leading the blind. But maybe they could use the exchange stabilization fund that the U.S. Treasury has. Some people say that it's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, so they could help. He could definitely help support the market. He wouldn't buy the whole thing, but he could put a bid in the market to bring people in. Vorsa, who in their right mind would buy an end the Fed mug when you can buy a Billy mug? Yeah, well, or you could buy both of them if you're serious about ending the Fed. Well, Billy's here; he's asleep. He's not snoring though tonight, which is good. Rick H. Right now, precious metals are priced around production. Yeah, we were talking about that on Bitcoin Ben's live stream about the price of production of gold and gold, and I said it's probably around 1,200. Someone said it's like 800, 900, but I recommend Steve St. Angelo. If you Google Steve St. Angelo, cost of production of gold, he's done really good analysis, and he thinks the big mining companies, their cost of production is around $1,250, maybe even $1,300. Richard McCorkindale, I did my best to help end the Fed. I bought more silver yesterday. That's right. The more we try to take, the less Federal Reserve notes we hold in our hands or in the bank, the better. The better it is. The quicker the Fed will end. And that means also the less we borrow, the less we play their game, the more we live within our means. That means, because the Fed's game is debt and credit, so we need to do our part as well. We need to live in a fashion that helps that happen. We have to try to stop playing their game. How much weight would you give a direct correlation between fuel expenses and fluctuation of metals prices? Uh, I mean, historically, if you look at 1 ounce of gold or silver and the price of a barrel of crude oil, it's been fairly stable, and gold has held its value. I'm not sure exactly what it is historically, the average, but you can bet that in 20 years, you still be able to buy uh, a reasonable amount of gas, or as they call it in the UK, petrol, with 1 ounce of silver. But with a dollar, with a paper dollar, you can bet you won't be able to buy much. I bought a monster box of Philharmonics. It's a backbreaker. Is that 500 ounces? 500 coins? Philharmonics are the Austrian silver coins, aren't they? Sanjit and the OG. Mario, I decided to return to India. I'm done with the UK. Do you think I'm doing the right thing? Uh, personally, I wouldn't go to live in India because I'm not Indian. I don't speak, I don't speak the language, and I'm not used to it. But if you are, I think you're doing the right thing. Yeah, I would go back. Gur Olgi, the ultimate weapon is to have inner peace with yourself. Everything else is a bonus. Uh, Gerd, that's a really good point. I don't know if you heard of Richard Russell. He died a couple of years ago. He was the grandfather of new, like newsletter writing for the markets. He was very popular with people, investors, and you know, he wrote every week. I think he died, he was 95 or something. And in one of his writings about the markets, he said what he said as well, that one of the things that he thinks is the most important thing is peace of mind. And I agree with you. That's a good point. And I was thinking about that the other day. It's weird. And yeah, peace of mind, and also, you know, being with your family. Family is really important. That's another thing. The socialists and the globalists, they hate the family. I personally think they do everything to keep to break up families, because if you have a strong family, you're less and less dependent on the state. So yeah, peace of mind and the family. Have you ever read The Prince? Asks Kevin Johnson. I think I did a long time ago, by Machiavelli, isn't it? Yeah, but maybe I should read it again because I don't remember it very well. Lord Humongous says time is your most precious resource. That too, I guess. That's why we shouldn't waste it. How much silver is used in a Tesla car? I don't know. Kevin Johnson says The Prince is a good read when looking at what the world leaders are doing. The other guy I recommend, if you search on YouTube, is Anthony Sutton. He died a few years ago, but he wrote some really interesting books. He did some deep research into the what we call the globalists and how they financed loads of wars, the Soviet Union. It's really eye-opening what he talks about. So Anthony Sutton, Anthony without an H. Recommend a lot. I haven't bought any of his books, but I should. So I'll take 2 or 3 more questions, and I'm going to have to go the next few minutes. Been here for about an hour. So just wait for a couple of more questions. Susan Chappell says, sorry I missed the live stream. Well, I'm still gonna, you can still ask a question or two if you like, Susan. I'll be here for another 2-3 minutes. Thanks, Lord Humongous. You have a good weekend too. Any comments on mining shares I recently added to my position? Well, yeah, I think it's been frustrating. I have some mining shares. Yeah, they're dirt cheap. Hopefully, you know, they will do well if when the precious metals bottom. They're like a leverage play, basically. They're not, you know, you have to think of the company, the management, the politics. It's not like holding gold and silver. Well, it is kind of like holding gold and silver, but there's an extra umph to it. Where did you buy your cushion cover? I bought it online. Someone asked me today in one of my videos, why do I like flags? I don't particularly like flags. The thing is, I used to just have the Union Jack cushion or Union flag cushion, and I've started doing my videos a couple of years ago, and US viewers would say, where's the stars and stripes? And the Canadian viewers would say, where's the Canadian flag? So I bought some, and recently someone from another country said, oh, where is the flag from my country? So I decided to buy the cover for the multi-nation flags. So that's why I have the flags there. All right. Just one more question here from Showdot before I go. Do you expect Canadian dollar and Norwegian krona to rise soon? I haven't followed too much those two currencies, but if we do see the commodities market recover, gold and silver, oil, yeah, they would. So anyway, thank you everyone for the participation. Thanks for the support. Thank you for the donations on Super Chat, and thanks for you know, letting people know about the channel. And have a great weekend. Take care. Bye.